Big week for us coming up. It's really going to be a big character week. Going to find out a lot about our team's character. Obviously, coming off of a tough game on Saturday and playing shorthanded without Snoop. No update on his situation. He's still indefinitely suspended, and there's really nothing new to share on that.
Who will make that decision? Who makes the decision on when he can?
It's an athletic department thing.
Don't contact you.
Yeah.
Do you have say in it?
It's there's stuff that we've discussed, but at the end of the day, it's made at that level.
Yeah. What's your level of disappointment with Snoop being suspended?
I've been coaching. This is my 20th year in college coaching, and you work with these guys at the age group that they're at, and you understand that sometimes guys are going to make mistakes. Sometimes guys are not all the way where you want them to be in terms of maturity or decision making. But at the same time, as their coach, you make a commitment to them to help them move towards that point and help them grow. So you have to balance that with doing what's best for the team and representing the institution and the athletic department. We talk all the time as a team about, in a game, being intolerant of anything that goes against what we're going out there and trying to do. And so the same applies off the court. And nobody's perfect. I certainly wasn't perfect when I was that age. But, one of the things that guys learn in college is there's a level of accountability for your actions. And, it's a tough lesson for some, but it's a good lesson. It's a good life lesson. The challenging thing for us is we're in the middle of our season. We're in the stretch run of our regular season. So our team has to take it upon ourselves to step forward and be the best version of ourselves without Snoop on the court right now.
Does it sting even more because he is a senior and he has been here for 4 years and he also has dealt with these suspensions in the past? I mean, it obviously seems like a different situation than maybe a freshman running into certain similar situation.
Absolutely, yeah. I think what you hope for obviously is for guys to grow from their freshman year to their sophomore year to the junior and senior year on the court and become better players. You want them to grow in the academic realm. Snoop has done both of those things really, really well. But then there's a third component of it, and probably the most important component for all of us is just who, as a person, you are, the decisions you make, how you conduct yourself when you're away from the team. And again, those are things that nobody's perfect. There's a lot of mistakes that are made, on college campuses, but they get magnified when you, play for an athletic team. And so our job is to continue moving him forward. He's going to graduate from here in May, and so between now and then, we have to support him, and just like we do with all of our players, help him grow and develop. And then at the same time, as a team, and every certain individual on our team can learn a valuable lesson from this.
Shaka, I should have asked you this on Saturday, but what went into the decision to allow him to travel? Why would you allow a suspended player to travel?
Good question. I thought about that. We talked about that a lot. One, it was over the weekend, so we, obviously didn't have class. And two, I thought at that time it made more sense for him to be with us than away from us. So that was a major reason. This week, our midweek game may be different because he has class, and it's the middle of the week.
Do you wrestle with the idea of the culture you want to establish and you're trying to build on, and then this happens, and then you're faced with this decision, you know, like, do you want to travel or you got suspended?
Yeah.
How much of internally do you wrestle with all this?
A lot, yeah. I mean, that specific question is something that, you know, we talked a lot about. CDC and I talked about it. And, yeah, you do wrestle with that stuff. And that's not, honestly, what you want to be wrestling with going into a big game or going into a big week. But that's, you know, was our reality, you know, the latter part of last week. And so you have to be a big boy and take whatever your reality is and make the right decisions for your team and for your guys. But there's no question. I mean, what you want to be focused on is how to get more rebounds than Baylor.
How did it be easy with the 3 strikes? It'd be easy to look from the outside to say 3 strikes, you're out. But on a 3rd career suspension, what is it about Snoop that you said no? We're keeping this door open. Why him?
Well, just what I just talked about, you know, our responsibility to move him forward. And again, without getting into too much detail, he's made a ton of progress. He's made a lot of right decisions. So it's not a situation where he hasn't grown, he hasn't moved forward. But, you know, obviously with this recent turn of events, he had to be suspended, and that's where we are. But no, I mean, we're not, you know, with where he is in his career and how close he is to graduation, you know, it's not a situation where we would say, okay, you know, we're going to cast you aside. You know, he's a guy that, you know, he's been here for almost 4 years, and we want to see him as best he can finish the best way he can. Obviously, this is, you know, puts a real dent in that, but it doesn't necessarily have to be the last chapter. I would like for it not to be the last chapter for him.
How do the players respond to that? I mean, this is a
Yeah.
guy that you don't have many seniors on your roster. This is somebody that's, you know, supposed to set an example for those guys. How do they respond internally to he's not with us anymore and this is why?
Yeah, we talked a lot about that, Dustin. Talked a lot about that with individual guys, and then, you know, some as a team. Those guys are disappointed. I mean, they want to win. They know that, you know, Snoop has been a big contributor to that this year and for the past several years here. So they're disappointed about that. At the same time, there's a relationship there, so I don't think that they're, you know, feeling like they're never going to talk to him again or anything like that. The most important response is saying, hey, again, this is our reality, and I'm going to step forward and do what I have to do for my team. And there may be some added opportunity for certain guys, you know, just grabbing hold of that.
Is
There's
it also
a certain
fact
amount of accountability that comes, like you said, being an athlete on this campus. And you say you were going to cast him aside. If he were to run afoul again, would you have the same attitude, or would you then have to just get rid of him for good?
Hopefully we don't have to cross that bridge. But, you know, I think you make those decisions if and when something like that happens. Again, without getting into any specifics, he's made a lot of progress over the past several months. And, you know, we felt really good about that. He felt really good about that. You know, in a lot of ways it was a success story. But, you know, this is obviously a step in the wrong direction, and, you know, we just want to get him back in the right direction.
You mentioned you talked with Chris about all this. So, I mean, obviously you and him are tied together of where the team is right now and everything else. I mean, just kind of what is your take on 7-7? Everybody, the projections are you need to be probably 500 to feel good about the NCAAs. Just kind of where do you think the team is right now when you may not know when he's coming back?
Yeah, you know what I'm going to say to that. I mean,
I know what
we're trying to go 1-0.
Maybe something different.
Where we are right now is exactly what you just said. And going into a game against Baylor, they're playing really well, and very, very tough, physical, aggressive team. And so where we are is, it's Monday. We got practice in a few hours. We're going to work our butt off to prepare to be, first and foremost, the defensive team we need to be to win on the road. And then secondly, to put enough points on the board to win on the road.
And speaking of that, I asked some of the guys about this. Did you come away, after watching the film, did you come away more mad about the first half defense more than you were happy about the second half effort and comeback?
Coaches normally are.
Yeah.
It's kind of like when you compare winning and losing.
Right.
You're more mad about losing than you are happy about winning. Yeah, I think in the first half we gave up 42 points, and it really was the first 12, something like that. So, that's something that today will be very, very highlighted, very much highlighted for our guys, and something that they'll come to understand. It's pretty clear, like if you look at our wins and losses in league play, just our first half defense is significantly different. And for them to score 42 points just put them in great position. And obviously we nearly came all the way back, but that's too big of a hole. So, a lot of those plays were in the first half, one-on-one defense, a lack of necessary understanding of where your man and the ball is, and that cost us.
Why didn't you call a timeout there?
The very end or the second to last possession?
Well, the very end, I guess, shot block.
Yeah. There's a certain amount of time under which you want to call timeout, and it was right around that. Right around, it was 5.7 seconds. We didn't get the ball up the floor fast enough, so we needed to make sure we did that faster. Retrospect, that probably wasn't quite as much time as we needed to have.
Was there any communication? I mean, did you want Matt to take the shot?
I wanted. We had a kind of an alignment that we had called and set up. I actually was trying to call timeout before the free throw, but then he missed.
Right.
So, in retrospect, it's a second or two more. You feel good about not taking a timeout.
Yeah.
We just didn't get the ball up the floor fast enough.
You obviously didn't get the ball in the paint the first half, and you did with incredible success.
Yep.
Second half. Why'd that take so long?
We spent a lot of time against zone and practice leading up to the game. Obviously, we had a week, and we knew they were going to play a lot of zone. When they did, we were nowhere near aggressive enough against it. And then in the second half, we did a much better job of just putting our head down and attacking. And some of them weren't the prettiest plays, but you got where you needed to get, and then that forced their defense to collapse. It created some open shots. Then when they went back to man-to-man, we did a pretty good job throwing the ball inside in the second half. Although the last post-up play we had, we took a shot we probably should not have taken, but just did a much better job of that in the second half. And it was something we were emphasizing in the first half, but the guys didn't. The guys carried it over much better in the second half.
You wonder sometimes when you're going to catch a break?
That's coming.
Wednesday?
Hopefully Wednesday for sure. I mean, but when you go on the road, you got to make your own breaks in the Big 12.
What problems does Baylor present, particularly with the guard?
Physicality. Mark Vidal's the most physical player in the league, most aggressive, toughest, meanest player in the league. rebounding, I think, is a huge key against those guys. And then you mentioned their guards. They do a really, really good job attacking. Oklahoma played a lot of one-on-one against us on Saturday. I mean, they ran in action and then basically got the ball to a guy and said, you can't guard me one-on-one. And so when that happens against Baylor, we have to step forward and stick our chest out and say, you're not getting what you want. They do a really good job moving the ball and sharing the basketball with each other. So we've got to make sure that not only we play good one-on-one defense, but we're ready to close out and guard the next pass as well. But, on offense, just hold them to one shot. They do a really good job going and getting the back. Gillespie is I think, is a guy that deserves more credit for them because he gets these second shot points that are just critical for them when they're in situations where it's a close game. Obviously Mason has had some huge games, so we got to do a great job on him. Butler's having a phenomenal season for a freshman. Had double figures when he came here. And Kegler was extremely aggressive. I think they feel really good about his matchup regardless of who's guarding him, just because he's not a big, he's a perimeter player, but he has really good size. What they did at our place is they really took advantage of the way that we were defending ball screens with Mason. They threw the ball back to Kegler and he attacked. So we'll need to do a much better job on him.
Should have asked this earlier. Is there a chance that he gets reinstated soon for Wednesday?
I doubt it. I don't think so.
Gerald got into the game earlier in the game, I think, all season. Is he getting closer to maybe giving you some minutes consistently? Obviously, not having Roach now, you could maybe use a guy with that kind of length and offense.
I think so. I mean, he's made a lot of progress this year in practice. Now it's just a matter of comfort level when you get out there on the floor in a Big 12 game, and knowing you can do it, believing in yourself. But he's gotten a lot sturdier over the past few months. So we'd definitely like to get him in there more and more because he's a guy that we think has potential. He obviously, when you look at him, he looks the part. He has size and length that you want to have at that small forward position, and that's something that we haven't really had. So definitely love to get him in there more.
Is Kamaka good?
Yeah, he should be cleared to practice full out today. As long as he hadn't had any setbacks, but I know he was in there shooting on his own yesterday and said he felt great.
What went into the decision to redshirt Brock this year? Obviously, that wasn't a decision that he made at the start of the season.
It's actually his idea. He came to us at the start of the year and mentioned that he, kind of felt like it was going to be tough to get a lot of minutes. So, he thought he could take better advantage of this season, redshirting, getting stronger, putting in extra work. And his work ethic's been really good. He's always coming to us and saying, hey, what's something extra I can do on this area of my game or that area of my game? He spent a lot of extra time with a strength coach. So it's been a good redshirt year for him. It's been a hard year. It's always hard when you redshirt because you want to play, you're used to playing. But I think it's been productive, and hopefully he's grown a lot, and it'll help springboard him in the next year.
What do you see out of him? What do you see getting out of him?
Well, I think, Kirk, he's still learning who he has to be really effective at this level. He's made strides in that. I think one thing is who he is he's a tough-minded, hard-nosed, aggressive player, and he's got to be that to the max to be an effective player at this level. I mentioned Mark Vidal. He redshirted as well. He clearly figured out early in his career, this is who I am. I'm not this guy that dances around the perimeter and shoots threes and does cute things. I fly around. I put my body on plays. I'm aggressive. I rebound. I defend. And so I think that realization for Brock is probably the most important thing. Now, I do think he, interestingly enough, also really needs to be and can be a very good outside shooter together with that. So that would probably be B if A is the tough-minded mentality, junkyard dog, aggressiveness. And again, he's made a lot of progress in that, but that's going to be the biggest key between now and November 5th when he gets to play is fully owning that.
Two last ones?
Does the fact that Snoop's the leading scorer, does that give him more leeway than the 8th guy on the bench?
No, I don't think it gets him more leeway. I think it brings more attention from you guys, and that's a reality. But it doesn't get him more leeway. I mean, the rules are the rules, and again, all of our guys are guys that we've made a commitment to them and their families to look out for them and try to help make them better as people and as basketball players. So in that way, it's no different.
One last one.
Who's going to win the league?
You asked me that. Did you ask me that last week?
You didn't answer it.
Kansas State's in first, so they probably got the best chance going into the last 4 games. But yeah, I think that game will go a long way towards it.
Yeah. Did you watch the Tech games?
I did not. I did not. I'll watch that when we start focusing on Tech before we play them. But no, I just focused on our team and then obviously preparing for Baylor.